Hello, 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 and a massive hello to everybody. So I hope we're having an awesome weekend. This is 50 pips rocking and rolling here on the 18th of January 2015. Again, not making any trade calls or recommendations because you and only you are responsible for the trades you may decide to take. And the fact that you're listening to this means you've read, you understand, you accept all the disclosure disclaimers on the blog, understanding that we're just performing some live tech analysis in a learning context for educational purposes only, where actually it's not live here now. This session is recorded because the markets are still closed. So guys, what's going on? So just a reminder, US markets are closed tomorrow, so it's a public holiday in the US, Martin Luther King Day. So keep that in mind. And what's shaping up for the week? So I mean, this week's really all and only about the ECB meeting on Thursday, so on the 22nd. Okay, now having said that, we do have some data, right? We do have some stuff out of New Zealand. We've got GDP out of China. We've got a lot of CAD data, the ZEW on Tuesday, out of Europe. And again, Wednesday, don't forget, we also have a BOJ press conference. We've got a bunch of UK data with the MPC on the wires, and we do have a Bank of Canada rate statement with a press conference. So clearly there's a lot of stuff going on ahead of that ECB on Thursday, and then on Friday we do have all the PMIs coming out of China, Europe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, retail sales out of the US. So again, keep in mind it's going to be a busy one, might be a bit quiet tomorrow, but you know, we should see some kind of movements on the currency markets in any case, you know, as the aftermath of what happened last week. Now, I know a lot of people are expecting me to talk about the, you know, the SMB. I think everybody has been talking about it a lot. There's a lot of articles, there's a lot of commentary on it, so I don't think there's an awful lot I can add. The only thing I would say is I'd like to say two things. So if you're interested in our outlook, what we think about it, what we thought about trying to play that, and you know, how to be positioned, etc., you can go back. We talked about it in all the weekly recordings pretty much. At the end of the year we had a whole discussion on one of those Sunday sessions on YouTube, what we thought about that. So that's all I'm going to say. And the other thing is, I just like to remind everybody that, you know, nobody likes somebody who's getting excited or gloats when other people are in real pain, right? Now, whether you were in the moves or you weren't in the moves, whether you made money or you lost money, right? Stuff happens. The markets can be very volatile, and they can be very risky. So even if you weren't involved in it, you know, I think there's very little, you know, there's no point trying to gloat or telling people I told you so, or laughing at people, whatever. Yeah, stuff can happen. Even, you know, what happened, you know, the move was huge, right? So even people that by all intents and purposes were trying to be conservative or disciplined about the way they were trading in the market, you know, they might have been affected on another pair, whatever. A lot of things could have happened. So, you know, don't forget, stuff can happen, and there's no point trying to get excited or make fun when people are in pain or companies are in pain. Of course, some people did things better than others. That's just the way it is. But, you know, focus on your account and on what you could do. And, you know, if you can help anybody out with some pointers, you know, you can. But, you know, there's no joy in trying to be overtly you know, joyful or boastful when other people are in deep pain. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say there. So let's get back to the markets. So what's going on? Well, let's look at the futures. I mean, really, the ES, I mean, as pure as can be. So we've been talking about the fact that we were in no intention looking to get long. All we were looking for all different kinds of tactical opportunities to get short at 2075s, 2050s, 2025s, you know, just trying to play those levels, pivotal levels, and we were looking for a move back into the shaded area, back into the 1975s. If you look at it on the daily, we're still bearish. We're looking at this to possibly correct more, but we're looking for this to move back in there and find support. So very nice little move, very nice trading last week. Even the longs, you know, very nice risk reward on those longs in the lower end of the zone, coming back in into that 200, that 1975 base support, even for a move right back into the 2000. That was a decent risk reward. Even now here, it looks like it's going to try and accelerate to 2025. So going into the week, what I'm looking at is this 2025 being the pivotal level. Again, it just looks like it keeps on having trouble. It looks like it's a bit heavy. anything can happen. But you know, the whole question is, can it hold this downtrend? Is going to break below those lows? Clearly, if it breaks below the shaded area, it's not something I would desperately be in a hurry to catch. And I think that might be, you know, daily closes below the move we've been looking on for a healthy 5 to 10% correction, right? But right here going into the week, just look at this 2025 and look for it to be chopping around. You know, now these 20, 25, you see these moving averages are starting to roll. So in terms of intermediate short-term range, trading range, you know, right now it'd be 2050 high, 2025 mid, and 2000 low, you know, and it's going to be chopping around in that area. Again, I still think the it could be very tricky to trade tight inside these ranges, so I prefer to trade the extremes, you know, closer to 2075 or closer to 1975s, whatever way you're leaning. But that's the way we're looking. But again, I think we read that one pretty well. Decent move there. Crude, you know, we're looking for this to base back down inside this whole 50, 45, 40 zone. You know, a lot of people saying, hey, 50, you crazy? That's a $10 range. Look, this has moved a lot. You know, we're down from over 100 to 50. I don't know about other people, but I definitely don't think I have the ability to try and pinpoint a basing zone to, you know, within a buck, right? This is very heavy. There's a lot of stuff going on, you know, and we looked at this as the next potential zone. So you see it start to catch a bid right in the middle of this area, right at the 45s. Beautiful little reversal on the daily right here. And then the second day too, you see how we got first day, second day came back to touch, held again, so it's holding. So I think here we've got room, clearly have room to move back into the 50 level. Again, as we've been talking about this for a while, we would not expect this to just, you know, be right back into the 80s tomorrow, needless to say, right? Basing, especially after these kind of moves, is a process. We'd expect it to take months, you know, if not quarters. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think here, at least, there's clearly trading possibilities inside these levels. Going into the week, you can already see that the shorts have been smacking it down, holding it below the 50. So right now it looks like the battle is shorts defending the 50 and longs defending the 45. So that's pretty much chop zone inside here. And, you know, daily close below 45, we would expect 40s to come relatively quick. And if we start to get a daily close back above the 50, then we would expect the 55 to come relatively quick. That's just about as much as we're the way we're looking at it now. Okay. And the other move, which was decent, was in the metals, right? Silver, our assumption, our hypothesis was that we were chopping around in this 18, 16, 14 range. And for us, this was the line in the sand. This reversal candle was a classic kind of candle you see on silver, exhaustion low, bam, clears all stops, closes very aggressively back above mid-range 16. And as far as we were concerned, after that, printed as long as those lows were safe. We're looking for 18 to print before 14. And we're moving back into range high. So you have to respect that range high, but similar kind of move to gold, very nice action. You know, we've been talking about this for a long time when it was basing around the 1200 level, and we said that, you know, we could easily construct a scenario, a bearish scenario or a bullish scenario. So at 1200, a view for 1150s or for 1250s, both kind of made sense. We've been favoring the move back into 1250s and break above back into 1300, so that's in play. So again, got lucky on that one probably, but looking pretty decent. So right here, we would call this an attempt to range shift. So moving from the 1150, 12, 1250, trying to move the range back up into 12, 1250, 1300. So very pure move, very nice, you know, no complaints on that. A couple of other charts quickly. USD JPY. I'm going to try and do a few charts just to give you guys as much as I can. So here, yen, we were breaking lower. We said, you know, the break of this trend line, we're not huge fans of trend lines, but we just had it up because somebody was asking in one of the live sessions about it. So we said, you know, break below, close below. We'd expect it to come back into the 115.50s, and this was the line in the sand where daily close below. We'd expect to see acceleration back towards the 100 moving average on this daily all the way back into 112s, and this being a big support zone. But we said, caution, this still holds bid. If this can't, especially, if it can't close below, don't be surprised to see it catch a little bid here. So we'd expect choppy action around 115. I think the focus is clearly on, how the ES trades and the ECB, so euro. So this will just react on whatever those are doing. And then if you're looking at EJ was very heavy. We talked about the fact that it was trying to base ahead of this 140, and we said, you could try to look for some tactical longs as long as you've got daily closes above the 140. If that 140 lets go, that 100 is going to be attracting very quick. Very similar dynamic to what we just discussed on the USD JPY, of that 100 attracting quick. So you see, bam, smack into it. So right here, a lot of people are going to be looking at this confluence of this 100 and those previous lows, right? Looking for this to hold. So the way we're looking at this is basically, as long as we hold here, we could see a little bounce, maybe even to the 50 back of this move down. If we trade below, then this is probably going to be very heavy, and we could see an aggressive acceleration back into the 200. By the way, this is a weekly. This is not a daily. On the daily, we're already smack through those two moving averages, right? So this is a very big level, very big level on Euro JPY. What's going on CAD? CAD, we've been talking about on Twitter. Keep on talking about that 120, right? And what I said is basically look at how price reacts around that 120. And what it looks like to us is that it's just unable to find attract new buyers above the 120. So it's tricky trade up there. It keeps on taking stops out left, right, and center. You see both to the upside and the downside. It's very difficult to trade both long and short because it's just very choppy, taking out stops all over the place. But the bottom line is it's unable to hold above those 120. So the way we're looking at this going into the week is as long as we keep on getting daily closes below the 120, and this is pretty much proxy on crude. If crude catches a bid, and this, we would expect this to not be able to hold above the 120, and we would expect this to retrace, and there's possibly a decent chance for a decent move here, maybe even 117, 116s. There's a lot of room for this to fall back down before it catches any strong support. So keep an eye on this on crude. That's going to be interesting. What else we got? Aussie pure action. We talked about, we had this whole basing, at lows, and we said we expected this to be a base. Then it popped higher, smacked back down, just clicked some stops, and then failed. We said, okay, well, it looks like either we're going to trade below very quickly. If we can't hold, we'd expect these highs to come right back. So again, it's been very choppy, but you see the support zone, even on this press here where it looked like it was breaking higher and it was going to go back. It came all the way back in, but it's still defended here. This was all the shambles last week, but still held to the pip. And this is something we're talking about also. When you have a lot of stuff, all that wheeling and dealing happening on Euro CHF, if you must trade, you want to look for stuff which is not too correlated and stuff still holding support, not this trying to catch the stuff that's in free fall, right? Trying to focus on the stuff that's still in structure. This gave very interesting opportunities here, and you see we're right back up. So as long as we hold here, we'll expect a lot of choppy action around the 82.10s, but as long as we hold above, expect this to rotate higher. Base, mid, and high range for a move all the way back up. And if you remember, this is a chart we've been talking about for a long time, is also this monthly on Aussie, where clearly there's room to move lower, but it looks like these 79.60s are being defended quite aggressively. So it's going to be very interesting to see after we get through the ECB how this trades, and if actually we're going to catch this support once again at this very strong zone. And look at the aggressive moves we got off this support last time. So it's going to be interesting to see, right? And essentially keep in mind what we said. This could easily rally quite a lot, but then still hold overall a big downtrend, right? But clearly this is important support, and it looks like it's trying to base for a little pop. What else have we got here? Kiwi stuck in the range. We talked about the fact that it was basing at these lows, and so far so good. Nice little basing action at these lows. And again, just need to give it time. It's very, very choppy. We talked about this trend line being the pivotal level, bull bear line, Momo zone, and you see how choppy it is. And we also said, there's not a lot of edge trading it inside this range. We feel this is very, very choppy, and this is a classical zone where we'd say do not get confused about velocity of move inside this range. It doesn't mean anything. We need outside these two shaded areas. Unless we get outside those shaded areas, it's just very, 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 very choppy, right? But now it looks like it's trying to press to the upside. We'll have to see how we open. We'll have to see through this week. But again, choppy, but looks like it's trying to get some traction to the upside. Cable, no change. Cable, our outlook since last week, what we talked about since last Sundays, we assumed that 2 weeks ago now, we put in a bottom, short-term bottom, and that as long as that holds, we'd be looking for a retracement back into 55, 56s, possibly all the way into the 59, 60s. So basically, very nice. You see on the weekly, very, very strong support, which is holding, and it's starting to rotate higher. So that view really hasn't changed, and we're waiting to see how this trades. Again, we'll be talking about a lot. We've been uber bearish on Euro GBP, and it looks like all those flows, negative flows going there. Selling Euro, buying Sterling should, even if Euro USD gets hit, should mean that cable is fairly well supported, right? Or at least stable. So we'll have to see. But even if you look at it from a shorter time frame on a 1 hour, every time it gets smacked down, this cable keeps on catching bids, right? So watch this 150, 150 as a pivotal level going into the week. Right below, we could easily try and take stabs at low, but as long as it's holding comfortably above the 150, 150s, then I expect the upside will attract. Again, a lot of choppy action, but what do you expect with the way the market's been trading, right? And on Euro, what's going on Euro? So Euro, we talked about the fact that we expected it to try and find some kind of base here inside this whole zone around the 116, 140s. When we got that aggressive sell-off on the S&B, we said, it looks like this could possibly be the final flush before we get, shorts trying to cover some positions and move back higher into the ECB, right? Unfortunately, the problem, of course, is that nobody saw what was going to be coming out of the S&B the next day, or in terms at least, nobody foresaw what came out of the S&B, but the next day, once we started getting a lot of news of FXCM, etc., Alpari and whatever, market took another nosedive. So as long as the way we're looking at it, as long as we hold below the 116.40, we would expect this to hold extremely heavy, and the next level will be those 112.20s. If we move back above the 116.40s, then we wouldn't be surprised to even see an attempt to take a shot at the 120s. Now, keep in mind, position is very extreme here, and anything can happen. The market's very, 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 very choppy, and apart from, of course, nobody has a crystal ball. We tend to think that, no matter what comes out of the ECB, unless it's really a gigantic bazooka, intergalactic bazooka, it's hard to believe what could come out that isn't already priced in. So we would expect that the healthy move is to see some covering into the ECB or post the ECB depending on what's going to happen. Again, it's a tricky one because we're going into tomorrow. The US isn't around. We could still get news out of the aftermath of the SMB. The problem is it's very tricky to try and be too technical because there might still be funds having to liquidate, brokers having to liquidate positions, forced liquidations. God knows what could still be going on Monday and Tuesday. So it's very, very tricky. So those are the levels we're looking at. We'll have to wait and see how that trades, but clearly an interesting week coming up. So I hope that was useful. I tried to cover as many pairs as possible. Stay safe out there. Thanks for listening. Have an awesome one, and see you guys. I'll be around for London tomorrow. Okay, bye bye.